C1 here or no?
Yeah, it looks like, oh, they are here now. It's like Elizabeth's online. Yeah, we're good.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so item C1, Elizabeth, are you here, please? Elizabeth, you're muted.
Okay, can you see me? Yes, can you hear me?
I can hear you. I can't see you, but that's okay. Can you hear me?
Oh, hold on a second. Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, hi Elizabeth, how are you?
Hi. Good.
I thank you for getting the revised WELO calcs. I assume there were some changes to the planting because of that.
Yes, we had to change the type of lawn, and then we had to go back and change some of there was some planting areas that we had medium water usage, and we changed it to low water usage. So that was how we were able to recalculate and still be in compliance. And I think there are 4 sheets that we attached that would indicate this.
I reviewed those this morning, so
Okay.
thank you. It does not surprise me that had to happen. And that's why I flagged it, because I didn't think it was just a technical issue. I thought it was actually going to substantively affect the landscape. So thank you for getting that done. But I would like to look at PDF page 43, please. Last page, I guess. Okay, so the lighting, you have some tree lights here, right?
Yeah, so at the last meeting, what they requested, that originally we had 3 lights in every tree, and so we reduced it to 2.
Okay, so, and you're okay with that, right?
Yes.
Okay, so Claire is not going to be able to be with us today, and I will recommend to the full board that this gets approved. Okay, thank you for doing that extra effort over the last few, hours to get this done.
Yeah, we had to scramble to try to get this back to you in time. So thank you for the heads up.
Yeah, well, either that or it was 2 weeks. So,
Yeah.
I do what I can to try to keep everybody moving as long as they comply. So, okay. So be good, Elizabeth. Thank you.
All right, bye.
Okay, C2, Michael, did I see you up there?
I'm here. Hello.
Okay, so there was a comment letter that, as I remember, was supportive. Is that correct?
A comment letter. Well, there was just a couple of minor things for 743 San Isidro. One was, I think there's a pretty clear presentation.
Okay, so I went through everything. You think it was supportive, right?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, I just had it up.
Okay, so Michael, in reviewing the plans, I did see that you were able to, thank you very much. I did see that you expanded that wall
Yeah.
to 2x8, but I didn't see where that was ever called out. I saw it on the presentation sheet, but when I went and looked in the
drawings.
the construction drawings, I didn't see it, nor did I see it in one of your wall sections. Now, I might have missed it, but I didn't see it. Could you?
That's a good. Let me just take a look here. Let's see. 2x2x2x. Yeah, I think we just need to update the text note and the description for W1 to be, because the dimension is correct, but then I guess the note in the wall legend just needs to change.
Okay.
So that's just an annotation error, but the wall thickness is correct in the actual drawing itself.
Okay, in the plan.
Right, well, the plan just needs the W call out actually just needs to be updated to be like W4 or W5. And then we can call that one two by 8 wood framing. And
Okay.
then,
So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna recommend approval
yeah,
with you to update your plans to show the 2x8.
Yep.
It's on the plans, not on the presentation
yeah,
sheet,
okay, understood.
for review with the planner and me.
Okay,
So just do that, get it turned into the planner. He or she will, who is it? Veronica will send it over to me.
Yep.
And I will look at it and it'll be good and we're out of here. Okay, but you agreed to do it. I want to see it on the plans because the contractor will not do it unless it's on the plans.
right, yep, understood. Totally on board with that. So appreciate it.
So I will recommend that approval with that, that note. Okay,
Lovely, thank you.
thank you, Michael.
Okay.
So we're off, right?
Where's Fleur?
She is out of town. So I'd like to call the September 21st, 2023 Montecito Board of Architectural Review meeting open. Is there anybody that would like to address the board on any item not on the agenda? Public comment, please. Item number 2, agenda status report. David, anything?
No changes actually to today's agenda.
Okay, I do want to say that because of state regulations on quorum and attendance at the meeting, we're going to take things a little tiny bit out of order, and I will keep you informed about that. Okay, but that's going to happen today.
Oh, John, I'm sorry, I did remember one thing, and so I'm hoping that Dave's aware of this. I got an email from the planner for item number 1, and she had indicated that she was only going to be able to give the blessing for that and to go for conceptual review, not the limit.
Okay. Okay, minutes, September 7th. Anybody got any comments, please? Okay,
We didn't have enough.
we have a quorum. I think we can approve it, right?
Yeah, you can resume, but I mean, if you want, if you would refer to way, you can do that too, but I think you're okay.
Well, I wasn't in the meeting, but I'm happy to.
I think we just need a forum to
Abstain.
hear them. You can just have.
I can abstain. Okay,
Yeah.
perfect.
Okay, so item number, this is a project down on next to the ocean, and we were interested in knowing about what to do with the cut for the new parking area. Spread it on site. To that end, item number 1, comment number 2. Explore options to distribute, retain. I think it should say cut, not fill on site. Because what we were concerned about is the cut. Item number 2, comment number 4. LRV is about paint color. It's not about solar reflectance. So use roofing material that has, and then add the word A, and then low, and strike the rest of it, solar reflectance value. So it's a use roofing material that has a low solar reflectance value. Item number 3, comment number 1, site visit required. Story Pole Ridge and Eve. This was a project on Oak Road that had no front walls or anything. It had gravel all the way out. So we said get all 4 corners. So Story Pole Ridge and Eve closest to Oak Road.
John, I have a question.
Yep.
So I saw there was a little bit of a discrepancy between my notes and Kimberly's.
Okay.
And I couldn't remember, it was either for number 2 or 4, but I had in my notes that the board had wanted to do an informal site visit, or at least it had come up in discussion.
I think it's actually this one here.
Is it this one? Okay.
No, let's site visit required. Maybe it's for
That was Valley Club, I think,
Number 2.
no, it's farther down.
The one year.
Yeah, the one that Anna Capital Architects brought in. Let me finish up.
Okay.
Okay, item number 4. Comment number 4. This is the project that was right at the end of the street. There was a neighbor that wanted everything moved over a little bit to the east. Consider adding steps or levels within residence, and then I'd like to extend that to reduce height of building as seen from driveway. And then item number 5, again, not an LRV, use roofing material that has a low solar reflectance. And item number 9, there's a motion, the last line of that says paint color to have an LRV no greater than 0.84. Okay, and that's all I have. Is there anybody else, please? I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as amended for a second.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Members informational
I'm
briefing.
gonna abstain.
Oh, okay, 2 abstentions, yeah, that works. Carried unanimously.
John, can you tell me who abstained?
Dave and Tip, they were actually not in attendance of the last meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you. Members informational briefing, anybody? Staff update, please.
Just of a general interest, I brought it up at one of your prior meetings. So the HLAC, or Historic Landmarks Advisory Commission, did consider an item at their hearing last Monday to consider what actions to recommend following the demolition of the Cody Sisters Cottage on Middle Road. So those discussions will continue, but there are options that we're looking at were referrals to council, the board of supervisors, or the DA's office. And so those are the issues that the options they're considering. So that's going to continue either at their October or November meeting. That was it for me.
Okay. Okay. Item C1, consent calendar. Item C1, I did review that project by myself since Claire's not with us today, and I would recommend approval as submitted. And to that extent, I move for, let's see, where are we here? Consider final approval. I move for final approval of the item C1 900 Knollwood Drive as submitted. Is there a second, please?
I'll second that.
Is there any discussion, please? All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed. Item C2, this is the project where they had a stone surround on a pool house or playroom or something like that. We said, you know, consider taking this stone surround off, but thickening the walls. The thickened walls were not properly called out. So I would like to move for final approval with the applicant to add the notes designating the 2x8 walls for review by the planner in consultation with the chair. Is there a second to that, please?
Second that.
Is there any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Okay, so item 1. This is where the agenda starts. We're moving items around. Dave, it's his office. We don't have a quorum. We have to wait for someone to come. So we're going to have his item heard later. Whenever that person, our other member comes in, we'll hear the item and then we'll get going again. So item 2, please. 350 San Ysidro Road. Okay, there is a public comment letter that is supportive. And Bruce, are you here, please?
Yeah.
Please come. Can I put this file? Yeah. This is item 2.
It's for 5, 6, and 1.
Okay. Sir, please, ma'am, please.
So I'm Bruce Labman, I'm the architect. My associate Kimberly is with me, and we have the owner Pierre Labarge here.
Please join us if you'd like.
Come up here.
We have not seen this project before.
Okay,
Is that
So-
correct?
if we all took a walk down the road, we'd find 350 San Ysidro. So it's just down from the firehouse here. The owners purchased this existing one-story home, and they aspire to improve it with a little bit more floor area to the common living, dining, kitchen area. They'd like to be able to expand their primary suite. And so we need any questions on the
This
site?
is actually just south of the YMCA,
Correct. Immediately adjacent,
immediately adjacent, but on the downhill side.
right across from it.
Yeah.
Okay,
And also, I don't know if Michael Yamasaki, the director of YMCA, if he wrote a letter, not, I think he was supposed to call in, but he said support of it as well.
so please, plans, yes, so these people were supportive,
Sorry. That's our neighbor to the south.
right, okay? So please go ahead. Bruce.
Site plan,
And it has a very low FAR too.
yes. San Isidro Road is to the left.
If you'd like to use that.
Thank you. San Isidro Road. Current existing driveway. This is all an existing DG type motor court. Our the garage is over here existing. It's an L shape and it goes up to the existing primary suite. This area right here, the owners would like to improve the entrance experience. We'd like to improve from here about over to the garage, improve the great room, which is a common living, dining, and kitchen space. We'd like to extend a child's bedroom here. And at the northern end, we'd like to expand the primary suite with expanded bedroom, bathroom, and closet space. There's an existing pool with a retractable cover, existing deck, that's all in place and completed. No work being done there. There's a little bit of landscaping across the front, and there are landscape drawings as part of the submittal. Questions about the site plan?
Just
Okay, continue.
please make your presentation. There is a time for questions.
Cheers.
Okay,
This is the existing survey. Next. Existing floor plan. So you can see the current entry, living space, dining space, kitchen, and we're proposing to expand to the south, expand to the north. This bedroom, we propose to expand to the south, and the primary suite, we're proposing to expand to the north. Next. Proposed floor plan. You see here, this is the entry. New living space, slightly expanded. There's a breakfast area, kitchen, and dining to the south. The existing garage is intact, however, the approach was from the south. Now we're approaching from the east. Bedroom extension and primary bedroom extension here, bathroom remodel and extension and closet. Next. Our roof plan. So this portion of the roof, this is new and expanded. We proposing to have slightly taller plates in the existing 8'1" plate. That'll give us a larger volume in the great room space. On the north end, we have matching gables to enhance the style of the home. Next. So at the top, there's the existing south elevation, the entry and comparison. What we're proposing is a gabled entry with tall doors and a full radius entry feature, flanking gable elements in the bedroom and in the garage. And you can see here, this is where the roof is slightly raised from the existing. The existing east elevation, now we're opening up this wall to have the garage. And then you'll notice this is a feature, this dormer, this gable element is a recurring feature. Next. On the north facade, there were existing multi-sliding doors. We're proposing to remove this portion between the garage and the bedroom wing. And now we have this element here with a patio cover, tall windows, kitchen window element. On the existing west, this is what the view that faces San Isidro Road. We're proposing to enhance the windows to the bedrooms and enhance the primary bedroom wing. Next. These are our 3D views. South entry, you get a 3D image of the entrance. The flanking elements here are limestone. The roofing, we're proposing a composite slate material. On the east facade, this is where the garage doors have been relocated. From the pool side, from the north view, you can get a glimpse of the patio structure, kitchen window. Again, patio structure, kitchen window, the primary suite extension, and again, the primary suite extension. Next. Sections, if you're interested, we can come to those next. That might be it. Oh, and the landscape plan. So the extent of the proposed landscaping is limited to along the motor court. Thank you. Thank you. This is our proposed covered entry, flanking olive trees and various Mediterranean type of shrubs across here.
You done that?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you for such a concise presentation. Questions, Robert?
I don't really have any questions other than it's basically a brand new house, right? What is being saved?
Well, we're saving the exterior walls of the bedroom wing and the garage, but between the garage, should we go back to a slide? Would that be helpful?
No, that's fine.
No, it's okay.
But
I'm just curious, I guess, you know, and this probably isn't pertinent, but if you had a clean slate, clean sheet of paper, you know, would it be any different? But other than that, I don't have any questions.
So if you had a clean slate, would it be any different? That was the question.
Well, that clean slate would be a different budget than what we have available.
Okay,
So that's not available to us.
okay. Questions, Dave, please.
What's the visibility of the project from San Ysidro?
If you turn back to the site photos. One more back. Okay, good. That photo number one. That's the visibility between the hedges and the gate. You can't see the house and the fence.
So the existing planting completely screens the view of the house. from
Right,
San Ysidro.
and the driveway trends down in the range of 6 to 8 feet.
So the property's down lower.
Correct.
It's down, probably about 8 to 10 feet, I would say.
Okay.
And the ficus hedge is pretty tall, and so there's. No,
No visibility. Okay, thanks. That was my question.
Tip, questions?
Yeah, I'm trying to, I'm thinking about, question from Robert, if it's gonna be a new house, I think that probably will be pretty much brand new because the glass will be new. The doors and windows will be completely new. The roof will be new,
The roofing, yes,
the roofing will be new. Now you raise the roof too.
between the garage and
Yeah,
the bedroom, wing, that's
Yeah,
correct.
So pretty much, and the interior pretty much new because every room you adding. The great room you add to it, the bedroom you add to, so yeah, it's by the time it's done, it pretty much be a brand new room, which is, it is what it is. So I have two questions. Question number one is I know that you're moving the garage door to at the east.
Yes,
And based on the Google map, it's a very tight turnaround on that. It seems like you have two side parking. So do you have to expand the paving to make it a turnaround to get out of the garage?
good question. In fact, we have more than 25 feet from the proposed east facing garage doors to the current paving. We don't have to make any adjustment.
Okay, so you feel you have enough room to back out?
There's enough, yes.
Yeah, but then you lose the two gas parking
Well,
spaces.
well,
Yeah, one way or the other.
immediately adjacent to the garage, but there's ample surface all around the property on the motor court for guest parking.
And then I guess my question number two, that you're adding a very beautiful opening in the garage facing north. East,
Uh,
north,
uh,
right.
those doors,
Yeah, it's almost like, is that going to be a garage or a bedroom or? It's a garage, right?
it's a garage, but we want to be able to have multi-purpose use out of it so that if we back the cars out, the kids can play in there and that sort of thing.
Okay. Those-
Did you have a chance to review this with the fire department?
No,
Okay. And that's all that I have. Public comment, we have a supportive letter. Yes. Is there anybody else that would like to address the board on item number 2, 350 San Ysidro Road, please? Okay, so we are on for concept today. Comments, please. Back in the same order, Robert.
Well, I think it's very nice improvement and it's substantially, you know, better looking than what's there and a nice family home. So I think it looks like a good project.
And where should it go from here, please?
Well, preliminary at least.
can we bypass? I mean, it's so thorough. Can we go to the next?
Do you
level?
have all the?
You're required to get a
details?
preliminary approval no matter what. Now, it
Okay.
could be tied in with a preliminary and a final. But
That's my question.
Well, if you provide all the additional details and everything else, I would say yes, prelim final could be possible, but. I think it would
Whatever the
be full
process is.
board,
you want
not-
full board?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Very good. So, Dave, comments, and where should it go, please?
I agree with Robert's comments. I think it's good to note that really this project isn't visible from the public, from what I'm talking photos and what you said. Asphalt and scale is minimized and it's very low FAR. So in my mind, this could come back for preliminary final on consent.
Okay, is that it? Tip, comments, please?
Yeah, well, I don't have any more, I don't have any further comments, and I think we should come back for preliminary final consent.
Okay, and I think it can also come back on prelim, final, and consent. So what that is an expedited time, but there's no reduction in the quantity of work or the quality of the work. I'm the guy and I am as tough as anybody on the board. And so full drawings, all of it.
Is there a hearing or is it a direct?
Just like this morning, just at 12:45, it'll be one of the items on and it will be heard before anybody else.
Oh, okay.
Okay, and it will just be, Claire will be back and it'll be Claire and I. What kind of landscape lighting are you talking about?
Landscape lighting,
Yeah, please.
that hasn't even come up so far.
Okay, so do we want to see this?
Well, that's why I don't think really it can be on consent. We have no landscape plan.
Well,
We don't even have a landscape
there's a
review person here.
there's a landscape plan.
Well, but I don't think it's. I'm just uncomfortable since nobody landscape oriented has really
Okay, so
given input.
I think it can come in. Who's your, Soren? We can put you on for prelim final on consent. You may or may not make it all the way to final, okay?
Is there a review that the landscape?
No, that's not the issue. So
Okay,
it's normally a two-step process from here. You want it to be a one-step process, that's fine. Do as good a job as you can. We'll see what we can do. Okay,
when we submit digitally, will you have an opportunity to review it in advance or is it that 12:45? That's when you
No.
review it?
I looked at it yesterday, all the plans yesterday.
Oh, okay, so you get a preview.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay, so thank you very much. Thank you.
thank you.
So item number three, so we skipped item number one. They're gonna zip in somewhere, it might be between two of your items, okay? So item number three, 1510 Sinaloa, please.
Me.
Very good. For conceptual, we have not seen this.
Right, you mentioned that. So I'm Mike McGuire, representing Drew and Beck Taylor. They should be on Zoom, but I think they'll just be listening in.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm ready to go through. I know that was flood control, so I have checked with flood control. And we are below the amount of new construction that would require us to renovate up 2 feet for the flood plan. So we are good with flood control preliminarily.
Can we look at the FAR, please, lower right? Okay, thank you. Okay, so.
Okay, so if we go to our site plan, the next sheet, I'll take you through. Alrighty, that's the land survey. Go one next. One more. Okay, so you have our existing site plan on the left and our proposed on the right. For this body, there's going to be 4 main features that we're seeking approval on. The first feature is a carport next to the existing garage.
If you'd like to use this.
Oh, that would be great. Thank you. Let's see. So this is the existing garage, and we're going to be planning to make that into a JADU, which requires us to replace 2 covered spaces. So that's the impetus of this carport, which is open on 3 sides. It's got a wall in the back to help with the shear support that we need to tie the roof to the existing structure. So that's element 1. Element 2 is a pergola, wooden pergola that we're proposing off of this JADU to help open it up to the rest of the lot. So it's a large lot. Number 3 is there's a sports court back here in the corner of the lot. We're planning to do a shade structure in the back, which would have a wall in the back, but be open on 3 sides. That's around 200 square feet, so it's not large, but just to provide some shade. And then lastly here, if you see the existing plan on the corner of San Ysidro and Sinaloa, has got a hedge here. We're not planning to touch that existing hedge at all. We would be planning to take the existing line of the lot and push it into our setback and create a stucco fence there with a motorized vehicle gate and a pedestrian gate here. And the idea is to kind of allow a little bit more curb appeal. You kind of drive up and it's all hidden behind these hedges, and there's not really, it's not really great curb appeal, right? There's also some utilities in the lower right corner that we'd like to be able to be accessible from the road rather than coming in around here. Yeah, exactly. That's fine. So that would be element 4. And then element 5, which is kind of an element, but it's a swimming pool in the back that we're proposing on this land use permit, but it's well within our setbacks. So let's see if we can go to the next slide. There we go. Okay. So again, we have our existing garage, and these are all concrete slabs. This is paver here, all non-permeable. And so what we're recommending is to replace it still with non-permeable at the carport and still non-permeable back here on our shade structure. But we would be doing permeable underneath the pergola here. And then this is just showing you that we are within our setback here for this.
Yeah. I was like, where's that?
Oh, boy.
That's fine.
Kimberly, turn off your mic, please.
We've all been there. All right, and go to the next slide. Here's just a little bit more information, kind of thinking ahead to our stormwater, and wanting to make sure that we're underneath tier 2. So we're really providing only small portions of non-permeable. Everything else on the lot, including these kind of pathways, would be decomposed granite and permeable. So that's in showing some details here for stormwater management and stuff like that. You can go ahead, go to the next slide. Here's our roof plan. So this carport here, you'll see in our elevations, we're really planning to kind of overframe it, California roof style, where the existing roof remains and the existing structure remains, and we overframe on top of it. You see our pergola here, and then our shade structure back here is going to be made to look like a pergola, but it will be waterproof, watertight. Show the next slide. So here we've got our elevations. There's that structure in the back that open, kind of see it here. So that's our shade structure. If you're looking back towards the backyard, back towards the pool, the lot slopes gradually down. So part of the pool would be at, above ground, and that reduces kind of our cut and fill requirement. And then you see this accessory structure back here, which is adjacent to the sports court. And this is a 6 foot tall fence, so it's about 3 feet, about 9 feet, so 3 feet taller than the fence. But note that there is a 10 foot distance between the fence and the structure. You can go up here, you can see we've got our pergola structure here coming off the side of the garage. There it is in the front. And then you can see the carport is engineered to kind of attach to the existing house. In the way that the existing house comes off this way, it would mimic that and come off the other side. You can see originally there's obviously nothing there, so we'd be adding that on to the house. Okay.
Are you done there?
I think there's some sections here if you want to look at those. Next one, next slide. So part of this as well is a new roofing material. The existing house has a dark brown, it's like a concrete roof tile. We'd be proposing to change it to a shake-like product. It's a cedar-like product. It's been used in a number of homes in the area. It's also used on San Ysidro Ranch. It's non-reflective, and it would mimic this kind of style, but be a lot lighter, better for the roof than these heavy concrete tiles. And obviously we're tying in a new structure here. So the idea is that everything looks all uniform and there's not one piece that looks different than the rest. Go ahead. And then the last one is just talking about a little bit more detail on the front yard. Of course, we are working with a landscape designer, and we are working on our landscape plans and all of that, including kind of lighting, because I know Montecito is dark skies. So that we have a lighting plan. And just this is that shade structure in the back. We wouldn't have the sidewalls on it, it'd just be the back wall. And I think that's it.
Questions, Dave, please?
Do you have lighting proposed in these plans, or you're talking about as you move forward?
Yeah, so it's kind of an interesting thing because I'm still preparing drawings as you guys are reviewing. So I actually have all that information. But it's, I guess, the next step of the process. And so I didn't know, actually, previously I heard that you can combine final and prelim. If I would have known, I probably would have presented that all this round. But knowing that I might have a possibility to present it at final, depending on what comments are.
Okay, that'd be good. And everything you're proposing is to match existing, with the
Exactly.
exception of changing the roof, and even that's.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think those are my questions.
Kevin, questions?
Yeah, so it seems to me like you are putting a gate,
Yes.
and I'm sure you know that probably the only house in the neighborhood has a gate.
There's a few other in that neighborhood that have gates. Yeah.
We should have in the 80s, anything open to to the street.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so my big question would be, since you put in the gate and the gate seems to be like 6 feet,
Mhm.
it seemed to me like it's right by the sidewalk or whatever that is.
Yeah. So you.
And so how are you, because that is the beginning and coming in, coming out into San Ysidro.
Mhm.
how do you prevent the car from sticking down the street when you're pulling up and the gate is closed?
Okay. So if you go back to our original plan or our site plan, I can show you that. There we go. So you can just look here. So you can see that we're actually pushing the gate in to allow, and this has actually gotten larger as we work with the landscape designer. She's
What
asked,
distance between the gate and the street and the curb? 10 feet?
I'd have to check my drawings. I think it's less than 10. I think it's like 8'11".
Yeah, so that's just a question I have.
Yeah.
That will be, and then the fence, doesn't seem to follow the curve, which kind of, is there any reason why you didn't follow the street instead of just straight up?
Well, yeah, we can follow the street. We just figured that the straight back line allows us to kind of access this front space. We have a whole landscape plan to beautify it with like drought tolerant agaves and grasses and stuff like that. And I mean, your comment is heard about kind of curb appeal sticking out in front of, the gate and a gate here blocking the visibility. But we would actually say we're opening up visibility because you have these existing long hedges here that block any visibility except for a peep in through the garage.
I guess, my concern had to do with the fact that, that really highly, a lot of traffic from Sonora to
Yeah.
San Isidro, and,
Uh-huh.
and if you come in, you're blocking the street.
Yeah,
That could be a
I think,
potentially be a problem.
We're in questions.
So that's one comment. The second comment is that, so you are converting the whole front yard into parking to the left,
here, yeah,
right?
yeah.
And it was landscaping before.
It was, if you go back to the original, or if you go left, sorry, just zoom out, you can kind of see the original plan.
And, yep, I can see that.
Yeah, so right now, this is currently fenced and this is just lawn. It's not really usable because it's kind of within a setback. And it's next to the road. So we felt like putting a large, a lot of properties in this area have much larger car parking areas than this one. This house, a 3,000 square foot house only having one driveway isn't a lot of parking. So idea is to maximize the parking here while keeping the lot open.
And how tall the fencing, in front?
So this current fencing and hedge is 6 feet. And so we would propose this to be a 6-foot fence as well.
Good fence.
Yeah,
And then last question, how tall is the back building that encroach into rear yard setback?
the backs of.
The new,
Yeah, so this building is 10 feet from the property line. This is the setback here, but I know it's the back setback and per municipal code, this building is allowed to be in that back setback. It's 10 feet away from this current property line.
and how tall?
It's 9.5 feet tall.
Flat roof?
Yeah,
Okay. And the pool equipment is on the right hand side?
yeah, it'll be over here within the setback.
All right, those are my questions.
Questions, Robert? Please.
No questions.
You've got about 7,500 yards, 75 yards of export, it looks like.
Yeah.
Is there any way to get that on this property, please, and not have to export it?
Yeah, and that's something we're currently working with our landscape designer as well as a lighting plan. We're working on a way to undulate the ground a little bit more, go with our existing grade down to the creek bed, but build up some of these back areas to I guess, provide room for that extra cut dirt and to provide a little bit of interest. Of course, we can't go too much of a grade because then we're looking at like retaining walls and stuff, which we don't want. But we're definitely looking at maintaining as much of the dirt and boulders, especially on the lot, as we can to include in our overall landscape plan.
I am aware of the provisions of the Montecito Land Use Development Code. But if I were to say that I have not voted for any structure in the rear yard setback with the exception of one or two very, very rare cases, which I don't think this meets, what would your comment be about that? Would you be able to relocate it outside or would you?
Yeah, well, our current location of this has to do with a lot of the mature trees that are already on the lot. many of them oak, which we really don't want to take down. This is a large palm tree that provides a lot of shade. So our idea was to fit it into the existing landscape without falling any large trees. The other location that we could place it is here, but this is kind of envisioned as a sports lawn, almost for soccer, where, you know, the kids might come out and drop their stuff off at the carport and run out here. So that was the impetus, is to get back here, also adjacent to the sports court, which is, you know, in order for this program to be tied, it has to be, you know, adjacent to a sports court. And so if we put it anywhere else adjacent to it, it would kind of require us to take out these large trees, which we're trying to keep.
And why does it need to be adjacent to the sports court, please?
Just for the programmatic function of playing basketball and getting hot and sweaty. If you're walking across a hot and sweaty yard to get to a shade structure, it's not as useful.
Okay, public comment. Is there anybody that would like to address the board on item number 3, 1510 Sinaloa Drive, please?
No speakers for this item.
Okay, comments, members of the board. Dave, comments?
For the majority of the project, I think they're nice improvements and, you know, have minimal impact to the community, the neighborhood. But I'm going to tag on to some of the comments. I think members were leading towards having enough space to get off the road safely in front of the gate. It doesn't look like you have that now.
And what dimension do you think that ought to be?
Well, I'm going to leave that up to them, but usually it's a minimum. If it isn't required for fire access, then it should probably be 20 feet.
From the edge of pavement.
From the edge of pavement to get the car off.
Thinking a little bit more like this is a program spot right in the carport, that square. And so if it was that large, like almost like a traditionally sized parking spot, so that you could pull all the way in, is that enough, or would you like some more leeway?
Whatever is necessary for cars to safely, you know, it's up to you to come up with that.
Okay, perfect.
I will also encourage you to minimize the extent of the new paving and the new grading to
Sure.
the extent you can, and if you can balance the grading on site, that's great. And then, my main concern is the proximity of that sport court to the neighbors and that accessory structure. Do you have any information about the adjacent properties and what's happening adjacent to that?
Yeah, it is a yard back there as well, and there's a public easement, so it's backing up to an easement. But the sports car sport is existing, so this is already there. It's not
already
like, yeah,
Okay.
the sports court is existing.
That's helpful.
Certainly, we would probably put it somewhere else if we were doing a master plan. But yeah, we're working off of that existing sports court.
Okay, then if that's existing, I'm just looking, my concern is then the proximity of the new accessory structure to the property line, but given the fact that sport court is existing and the trees are there and you're preserving the trees, then I can probably support your location of that accessory structure. And it's also turning its back on the new.
Right.
Those are my comments.
Tip, comments, please.
Yeah, my comments, I think it's in line with Dave, and I guess the most important thing for me is to make sure that the gate is set like at least like 20 feet.
Okay. Yeah.
Because that will safely get the cars out of the road.
Yeah.
You know, when you pull up and didn't block anything, and that's number one. Number two, that will try to see you're fencing it. You probably will come back with the landscape plan and see how the front will look with a new fence.
Yeah.
Because you're fencing the whole property now.
Yeah.
Based on what the Google map is completely open now to the neighbors.
Mhm.
And then I would, I think I'd find a way to minimize the paving in front of it. It's just really that, you know, it's pretty much a first impression. It's all paved.
You're talking about right here?
No, outside.
inside, so there's a 6 foot
I'm
hedge.
talking about the front door, when you come to the front of the house, which is to the right at the corner.
Uh-huh.
And I'm not sure what.
But if this is a JADU, which it will be, it's activating this section of the yard that currently doesn't really have a program. And so that would be the point, is to kind of allow kids to be out here under the shade and running around the front yard.
Yeah, I just feel that, maybe it could be a little more thought putting into it to make it a better first impression, cohesive. Instead of, because now, you have to have a lot of paves there, you have a pool.
Well, this is
Yeah,
decomposed
yeah.
granite, so it's permeable, it wouldn't be paving.
Yeah, so this is your landscape plan for that.
Yeah, and
And
then,
then, let me
This
finish
is-
my
So we're
comments.
in comments.
okay,
Thank you.
And then you have a pool, and then the sport court. This is a really a questionable thing, because I do know the neighborhood pretty well, and as it was originally planned, there were no sport court, so it was added somehow,
Mhm.
either by this owner or the previous owner, or
Yeah.
whatever it was added.
it's compliant.
Yeah, but it's probably never been permitted, but which is, I'm not sure if we address that issue or not, but the point is about the back building, the new building. It's, I think could be better, the site, that's number one, number two, that even that close to the property line, maybe it should be a little lower than what you showed the elevation, it seems to be a little tall. And I know that's right next door to the house right behind it. So the position might not be the best in my opinion, so that's something we want to take a look at. So those are my comments.
Robert, comments, please.
Well, I basically agree with everything else that's been said, and I think it is a nice project, but it is pushing the boundaries as far as the setback encroachments, not only for that. The sport court, which I don't know if it would be approved if it were presented as a new one today, it probably wouldn't, especially with the whole pickleball. Thing going on, and the front driveway, you're pushing out there too, so. It's a lot more development, it seems like a lot more, hardscape, but. If it complies with the county standards, I'm not gonna worry too much about it unless, it's on San Isidro Road, which is a noisy road anyway. So I would have more concerns about the sport court and that back building if it were someplace else probably than here. And yeah, I don't know, but I thought the minimum on a entrance to a gate was like 23 feet, but I don't know how you would pull that off here. And does it really need a gate? Is there a desire to keep like pets in or something, kids? And I can understand that, but it's a nice improvement. Again, this is where Montecito is headed, so I'm gonna leave it at that.
I see a lot of on the ground kind of landscaping, but not a lot of vertical landscaping, which we could get if this was reconsidered in this corner right here. I don't know why that's not showing up. But in that corner of the driveway and across the front, which would then give you that second layer of landscaping on the project, not just the hedge.
Sure.
This is more of a non-Montecito type of landscape where everybody doesn't care about what happens behind the hedge, and there is no skyline interference. So I think that that comment about the size of the driveway element, please reconsider that.
Okay.
The reason everybody is assuming, I think, that this plan has to have the pool where it's located. And I'm not convinced of that, and therefore, as that moves, I think that shade structure could also move. I probably will vote against this project if you leave it in the rear yard setback. I don't see any reason it has to be there. I think that it can be done beautifully within this property. I think there's plenty of property, but it just needs to be figured out how to get that to work. So, and then I would strongly encourage you to figure out how to get all of that export not as export and put it on the property. There may be one truckload, 10 yards, but I think it would be better to do that. And your comment about creating undulation, I think could actually be quite nice. So we are on, this is item number 3. And I think back for preliminary, back for concept, full board.
Back for preliminary to the full
Full board.
I agree.
Yeah. With the landscape plan, you can take it as far as you want in terms of details so that the full board can see where you're going. If you want to put in landscape lighting, please make your initial proposal next time. And we will figure that out at that time. We'll give you some direction on that, okay?
Okay.
Thank you very much. Okay, so Bill Wolf just contacted me. He's going to be here in about 5 minutes or something, but I think we have enough time for item number 4, at which point then we'll split item number 1 in. So item number 4, Appleton Partners, is anybody here or online? Yes, please. And you are
Jesse Richards with
Jesse?
Appleton Partners.
Jesse?
Mhm.
Thank you. Okay. So we have, you have a pointer there, is it?
Thank you. So this is, this project includes enclosure of a,
So can we read the comment from the last meeting?
the last meeting was the 8/24, which was canceled. So this is the
Okay.
first time you're
This is
reviewing
the
the
first
project.
meeting. Okay,
Is this the pointer?
there's one right there
Sorry,
for you.
thank you. So this project includes enclosure of a loggia for a previously approved pool cabana and the addition of a generator to the property on an existing generator pad.
Can you show us the FAR before we get started, please?
Yes, that would be on the lower left of the cover sheet.
Right.
So the FAR has not changed from what was previously approved for this pool cabana
Because it was covered.
because it was, yes, it was a cover, it is a covered loggia.
Okay.
So there is no change in square footage. We are just proposing to enclose that. So I think if we move to the next sheet, there are photos of the site and existing condition. The top row of photos 1 through 4 are views looking north and south along Hot Springs Road and then towards the property itself. So you can see the existing motor court gate and driveway entry. The middle photos are an aerial just to help orient everyone for the site, as well as photos of that proposed generator location on that existing concrete generator pad. And then the bottom row of photos are of the existing single-family residence, swimming pool and cabana location. The cabana is sited at the end of the existing swimming pool. If we move on to the next sheet, it will be our site plan. So you can see here is the approved cabana in that location at the end of the pool. And then up here in the corner of the site along that existing driveway is the existing generator pad. We're proposing a new generator. We are also asking for a service motor court with service gate. There's an existing site access here at the base of the property. So this is just to create an actual parking pad for service as well as a gate, which is a simplified version of the existing main gate, which is located up here. If we move on to the next, it will be the previously approved floor plans above. And then if we want to, yeah, so this is the previously approved plans. We're not proposing any changes to the lower level or the roof. And then if we want to zoom in on these two right here, you can see the change that we are requesting in on the ground level of the cabana is just to enclose this covered loggia. So we're showing new steel windows and doors between those columns at the loggia. If we move on to the next sheet, it's the exterior elevations of the structure. So up here are the approved elevations of the cabana. Here's what we're proposing with adding those steel windows and doors between those columns. And then just as a note to the board, because of where the existing pool equipment was previously, we showed a second stair here down to that lower level, but with the existing pool equipment, it won't fit. So we've omitted that stair. But otherwise, this elevation is fairly consistent with what was approved previously. And that should be the last sheet in the presentation.
Thank you, Jesse. Questions, Chuck?
What's the, on your secondary entrance, what is it right now?
You mean the service entrance? Right now, it's just it's just a chain link gate and a dirt site access, so it's not paved.
So the chain link gate,
It's a chain link gate.
and there's no curb cut, anything like that?
No, there's no curb, but there's no formal curb cut, so we will apply for a road encroachment permit with Public Works for.
And what the
adding.
main reason for that is that what to do what the pool, what in, to do what?
It's for service of the pool. It's for a place for the gardener to park and access the site, as well as housekeeping. It might be utilized as guest parking for events at the pool. So it's secondary parking primarily for service, but could be overflow guest parking on certain occasions.
And can you zoom into that a little bit? That's right, yeah. And how big that is? It seems to be like
So we have the proposed service gate. The driveway is 14 feet wide, and then we've located it 30 feet back from the edge of Hot Springs Road. And then the motor court itself,
yeah, what the dimensions of the motor, what is the width from top to bottom of page?
I believe it's about 24 feet.
So 24 feet from
So
north to
from-
south?
Yeah, so from like here to here, I believe is about 24 feet plus or minus 6 inches.
And so when you pull in, how do you park?
So and depending on the number of cars, this could be a dedicated parking space. Or you could fit a handful of cars with this being your backup turnout so that you're facing forward when you
So
exit onto Hot
technically, you
Springs
park
Road.
one car.
One or two, depending on whether you're using
Because
this
if
as
you do
parking
more
or
than that,
two
then you
here.
back out into Hot Springs.
Correct, yeah. So this would be very minimal and like I said, primarily service for gardener or pool service.
And then it goes right next to the property line.
The property line is here and here. Yes, so at our most extreme point, we are very close to the property line, but again, this is thought of more as that space if you're parked up here to be able to turn around and
So
go
there's no
forward.
landscaping between the lot and the property.
Correct. It would, I mean, there's landscaping here and here, but at the most extreme corner, there's not space for.
And my
Planting.
last question, is there any reason why it's shaped like that? Why it can't fall over the property line or anything like that? Because it seems like everything's open in that corner.
We could explore rotating it so that it's more orthogonal with the property line. But again, we were trying to keep it as minimal and tucked into this corner as we could.
Okay, those are my questions.
Robert, questions, please?
So The building is there now or no?
It's, we just finished with the building department, so we're about to start construction, but it's fully approved. And then in one of our pre-construction meetings, the client was talking about programmatically how they'd like to use the space. And so there was a request for enclosing that loggia, which is why
And
we're
what
here.
kind of screening exists? Is there a Google map or something?
Yeah, on the driveway or,
Well, behind the building and along this new proposed parking area.
yes, if you go to sheet 2, that's our photos of existing conditions.
I'm kind of looking for an aerial.
Yeah, so that would be, so this right here is where we're proposing to tuck that new service parking. As you can see, it is heavily screened, both with this row of trees along Hot Springs Road, but also there's a nice little open spot right here underneath that tree canopy where a modest parking pad would fit.
Kimberly, Bill Wolf just started his attendance.
Thank you.
Okay, so existing is, just means it's approved, but
Correct.
not built yet. Okay,
Correct.
got it. No more questions.
Dave, please.
Yeah, I have a question for Kimberly. Are generators subject to the noise zoning constraints for noise that other equipment are?
Yes, they are. They could not exceed 65 decibels at the nearest property line.
And have you?
Yes, we've shared all of the generator specs with our planner, and we are proposing a small enclosure to help mitigate the noise and comply with that 65 decibel.
So you'll show that on the next round. Okay, that was my question.
And I have no questions. There is a public comment. Anne Marie, we want to pick you up on the mic, so can you please come on up?
Hi there. I live,
756 Hot Springs Road.
I just have a question regarding your, second gate.
Mhm.
And I'm wondering, sorry, I have a soft voice. When was your aerial shot taken?
The aerial shot was taken it was either the end of 2021 or the beginning of 2022.
So that has significantly changed since that time. I don't know if you have been to the property recently or not, but the neighboring property has cut down oak trees that are
Between the two properties?
Yes.
Okay.
So that's not an accurate representation of what the vegetation is like currently.
Okay.
And because that is a private road that accesses my property, I'm quite familiar with this piece of Hot Springs. There's also a large utility vault out on Hot Springs right between those two properties. I'm wondering where your gate is in relationship to that. I mean, it's 6 by 6 steel covered. Could you point that out?
Sure. So this, if you follow the diagonal line, that
Yes.
is that angular property line to the south of us. So our gate would be right in here where there's an existing chain link gate there.
Okay.
So we would just be putting something more visually attractive there.
And because there's such a curvature right there at Hot Springs, and it can get quite dangerous with traffic, how far back? I didn't catch it, that you were pushing the gate back into the property.
30 feet.
Okay, great.
So there's ample space for a car to pull in safely out of Hot Springs Road.
Just a really tight little spot up there. Okay, fantastic. My only other comment would be, and I attended the original when they did the remodel originally, and you guys were great. It's just that nobody during construction, all the contractors would be contained to your property
Yes,
and not
absolutely.
overflow onto.
Correct. There would be no street parking. If they need to, they'll implement a shuttle service.
I
Everything
really
will be
appreciate that.
contained on site.
Thank you.
Are you done?
I am.
Thank you very much. Okay, comments, Tip. We have never seen this before. We're on the console.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing to talk about the cabana, it is what it is. But I'm definitely concerned about the second entrance of Hot Springs. As we all know, that's a very high velocity, number one. And high traffic, people race up and down the hill, which we shouldn't be, but that people been doing. And because it's so straight and nice, you want to go as fast as you can from point A to point B. And I'm just worried about the safety issues, and I think we need to minimize the in and out of hot spring as much as we can. And if we don't have to do it, then we shouldn't do it. And so that's really my big philosophy about hot springs. And secondly, if you have to do something, you don't want people to back into hot springs. That is the most dangerous thing. You go out and you back into it, and that's the end of it. And right now, and I just couldn't figure out the second lot, what really it does, because it's so small as you've shown it, you can barely 24 feet, you can't park in 24 feet. So you literally have room for one car. And the second car, you back out. And the shape is low odd, we have so much land, so I really don't understand it at all, why we need to do that. And if you, not like you do a nice, big enough lot that you can come in and move around and stay away from the property line and all that kind of things. So because of those reasons, I don't think I can support the way it's shown right now.
You're okay with the enclosure of the cabana?
Yeah.
But, okay. Is that it, Tim?
Yeah.
Robert, please comment.
Yeah, I agree the cabana's fine, but I think Hot Springs Road is basically a freeway, and we want to reduce the amount of driveways as much as possible, really, that come out there. So I think if there's a way to peel off the main entrance, I've been looking at it here, trying to see, what trees might be impacted, but you could put a service parking area off the main drive instead of creating a whole second entrance. That would be my preference.
Are you done?
Yes.
And Dave, please.
Yeah, my comments align with Tip and Robert to some degree, although could we go to the site plan showing that parking area? I think if you're going to propose the parking area, it needs to be functional, and this isn't. I think Tip was alluding to it. I think if you rotated it parallel to the property line, made it a little bit deeper, it'd be much more functional. Cars would be able to turn around and pull back out. And also another concern is the proximity of that parking to the property line, not having the ability to landscape it. So I can support the parking area because I think that having a service access point is a benefit to the owner. I don't think it increases the traffic to San Ysidro. And also because this is the way I'm reading it, 30-foot set off the road, so there's safe pull up. It's just having a functional configuration that works, also minimizing the size of it. And this is kind of the tail wagging the dog. I think the enclosure of the cabana is fine, looks good. And you're going to come back to us with an enclosure for that generator, which is my other concern.
Yes.
Thanks.
I'm also okay with the enclosure of the cabana. I think that you should, picking up on Robert and Chip, eliminate the separate entrance and find a way to integrate it up at the main entrance. Maybe you take the main entry gate and move it back, and then have this be a pull-off area that is outside the residence, private residence. But I don't think I would vote for this. Back for preliminary next time, guys. Preliminary final, or we haven't seen this, whatever their proposal is going to be on the motor court.
That would come back for preliminary final, maybe on consent, if that issue, it's a pretty simple issue to resolve. And
I don't think I want to resolve I'll take care of the enclosure of the cabana on consent, no problem, but I won't touch the driveway without the full board taking a look at it. It's just too big for the consent calendar for me.
I agree.
So if you want to continue to propose that, you're back to the full board,
Okay,
okay?
Mhm.
But preliminary final.
otherwise.
Yeah, I think so. Don't you
Okay.
guys? Yes, ma'am, real quick, real quick.
For an updated aerial of the actual vegetation that's currently there.
Yeah. Can you do that, please, Jess?
Thank you.
Okay, so, thank you very much.
Okay.
We have item 1 with us now. Dave is has a conflict. He's gonna step down. So Bill, if you wanna come on over. Is Kurt, are you here with us, please?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, thank you very much. Okay, you're up.
Great,
So-
good afternoon.
Hang on, Kurt.
Sure.
This item was originally scheduled earlier, like a month ago, 6 weeks ago. He was dropped off the agenda because we didn't have quorum. We almost didn't have quorum again today. That's why he's taking sort of a little, okay, so that's explaining what's going on. Because of our friend Bill. Okay, so please, Kurt, you're on.
Great, thank you. Good afternoon. Yeah, I'm Kurt Munzer with NMA Architects, and also here are the owners, or at least Orly Adelson, and then I think Rick Rosen will be stepping in as we go. Just starting out on this title page, a couple corrections. Thank you to the MBAR chair for pointing out that we have a small error on our FAR sheet. So we'll be correcting that. And what that will do is increase the total, which now says 99% by 2% to 101. The other just quick thing was that I think the planning description for the project says that there are 889 square feet of addition to the residence, and it should read 898. I think we have a note out to David about that already. And thank you also to Bill for stepping in so that we could have quorum for our project. So thanks for that. Just before we leave this sheet, just so you can see that top title rendering, this is a view mostly showing the existing residence, and then the project, which we'll get to, is just the garage at the far right. So we'll come back to that. Next sheet, please. So this is a neighborhood aerial, and the property is 330 Malaga Drive. It's a gently sloping 1.5 acre lot. It's about halfway up San Ysidro Road between the 101 and East Valley Road. In the upper left of this view is the Montecito Union School, just for reference. Access to the property is at the end of the cul-de-sac Malaga Drive. It's in the southwest corner of the property. This satellite image also, if you zoom in a little bit, it highlights how the existing property is surrounded by mature trees and hedge screening. And there are also mature oak trees on the property along the east side, and then also in the rear yard. We've worked closely with our project arborist, Bill Spiewak, and he's prepared a preliminary report. Fortunately, we've been able to protect and preserve all of the oak trees. Next sheet, please. So these are the site photographs. Along the top in the upper left is the view that you get from the public street, Malaga Drive, and you can see that the house is almost entirely screened by existing plantings. The center top shows the front of the existing house and the character of the Spanish colonial style home, which we will be matching with the additions. And then on the right is the garage, which will be replaced. The bottom images are views looking towards the area of addition on the east end of the house. You could go to the next sheet, please. So the top views, or actually this entire sheet, are views looking out towards the neighboring properties from the area of proposed addition on the east end of the house. And you can see there are mature trees and tall hedges which entirely block the views towards the neighbors. Next page. So the top row here is looking back towards the existing house and project sites. And this is the rear of the house. And then the bottom row are views looking out towards the north, the kind of northwest and northeast from the proposed addition areas. And again, you can see the really mature trees and hedges that block the views completely towards the neighbors. I think the next sheet is our final, collection of site photos. So there's one other small addition area proposed on the west side of the house. And this, the center image is looking towards the corner of the house where we are proposing a small addition. And then the other views kind of look along that corner of the property and show how there are also tall trees and screen plantings here, and you really can't see the neighbors at all. The next sheet, please. This is just the survey. We can kind of skip over this. It just shows the gentle slope. So for the site plan, we'll kind of do an overview of what's existing and proposed. So the existing property includes a single-story Spanish colonial style home with attached garage on the right, a gravel finished driveway and motor court, flagstone patios, and pool. And then in the northeast corner is an existing cabana. Our proposed project includes removing and replacing the existing attached garage on the east end of the house and some small areas of addition to the house, both on the east and west in the back of the property. All of the addition areas are single story. The project also includes the addition of an attached ADU on the east end, which is exempt from design review. The proposed site work includes an enclosed courtyard to the left of the new garage, replacement of mechanical equipment and trash enclosure, some low retaining walls to minimize grading under oaks. And lastly, there is a new dining patio with steel arbor and a stone bench and gas fireplace, which is located adjacent to the existing pool. The new garage and addition on the east end, you'll see are oriented in a north-south direction in order to stay away from the existing oak trees and protect them. The building addition footprints greatly exceed our required 10-foot setbacks for an interior lot. So on the front, we have more than 50 feet. On the side, on the east side, we have more than 35, 174 in the rear, and 16 feet on the west side. One last thing to point out on the site plan is that the project is in the FEMA high hazard area. So we are currently working with county flood control to complete the non-substantial improvement determination process, because we want to keep the additions at the same floor elevation as the existing house. Next sheet, please. This is just a fire access plan. So we've worked with the Montecito Fire Department to gain conceptual approval and also to help protect the oak trees with the location of their truck staging. Next sheet, please. Here's the floor plan. So on top, the demolition plan shows the existing attached garages, mechanical equipment areas, and trash enclosure dashed on the right side, which are all to be replaced. And then
We're just gonna keep, we don't need to get into the plan. Thank you for offering.
Sure. With the roofs, we're pretty much matching what's existing as far as shapes and materials. So for the renderings, the view on top shows the front of the house, which is really hidden by the existing hedges. The addition is the garage at the far right, which is further screened by existing trees that are on the property. And then the bottom view shows the east addition to the residence in the foreground, and the existing is in the background. We could jump to the next set of renderings. So the top view here shows the back of the existing house, and then the existing pool, and beyond that is the proposed patio and arbor with the hedges behind it. The bottom view also shows the back of the existing house, and our small addition areas are at the far left and far right, and then the proposed patio is also shown on the far right. The next sheet is elevations, and these just highlight the areas of the additions and how they tie into the existing house. So the top two show the sides of the proposed garage, and then the bottom view shows the front of the proposed garage. That drawing also shows the maximum existing height for the house is 20 feet, and our additions reach a maximum of 16 feet.
Next.
And then the last page. Great. So the bottom one is just the back of the existing house. You can see the small areas of addition. Upper right is the west side of the proposed small closet. And then the upper left shows the proposed patio with steel arbor.
Is that it, Kurt?
That's everything, yes.
Thank you so much. Questions? Our guest in honor, Bill,
All right.
for one item only today.
Yeah, I know. Lucky me. Could you go to the site plan, David, there? Is the fireplace that's in the setback on the arbor, huh? And can you use variable setback for that, I guess?
Yeah.
Can you clarify that? It's in the setback, right? Is
that a question for me or for Kimberly?
Yeah, asking you.
Yeah, what we are pointing to is a code section that allows for landscape features. So that's just a stone gas fireplace. It's maximum of 6 feet tall. And
that's still pretty lush landscaped over there. And the neighbors, are they quite a ways back off that anyway? Yeah, it is densely vegetated with hedge. And then on the other side of the hedge is a common driveway that accesses, I think, 2 or 3 properties. And those neighbors have their living spaces on the back side of their homes, the far side. And then in the front yard, you're adding a garage and you're actually reducing paving to get that garage added. But it looks like on the, I guess, east side of the garage there, are you reducing paving there too? Or it's hard to tell in this drawing what's going on. Are you adding more planting? On the east side, excuse me, we're adding a couple small patio landings, which you can kind of see with the flagstone pattern there. And then to the immediate right of the new garage will be the new trash and mechanical enclosure. So that will have a concrete pad underneath it. And that's got a fence screen around it then? Yeah, plaster walls, which would match with what's there now, the style of what's there now. And that little shed that's on that side now, that comes off, is that right? Or are you keeping that? Right, that's a detached shed that's existing and will be removed. Okay. Oh, last question, arbor, is it got a solid roof on it or what is it, a espalier? Yeah, so it's a light,
like thin profile steel open structure, has an eyebrow shape, and then the style is such that you might lay reeds over the top, but it's open top.
Okay, no skin other than reeds or grass.
Correct.
Okay, all right, that's it. Thank you.
Questions, Robert?
No questions.
Questions, Tim?
No questions.
And I have no questions. Public comment, is there anybody that would like to address the board on item number 1, 330 Malaga Drive, please?
Go ahead and raise your hand if you'd like to speak on this item on Zoom. Not seeing any raised hands.
Okay. Comments, Bill, please? We
Yeah.
are on for concept.
Yeah, I appreciate all that you've done. I think it's a good design. I like that it's fitting in with the existing home. It looks like it'll all be part of what was there originally. I don't see any issue with any of the items that you're adding in the site, including the arbor. So
And where should it go next, please?
I'm happy to give it preliminary approval and come back.
No,
Is that right?
no, we're on for
It says concept review and.
Oh, he wasn't here.
the planner said no preliminary today.
Okay, yeah, I'd be happy to give it concept, come back for preliminary.
Next time preliminary. full
Yeah,
board.
yeah, probably, yeah. There's
Okay.
landscaping things.
Okay, Robert, please.
Nice project, concept for sure.
And next preliminary.
I don't know, how far can we take it? Can we go prelim? final?
Today, all we can do is concept.
But I mean, next time,
We could go all the way to final if the full board feels that that's what we ought to do.
I think. We need to start expediting projects like this.
So you want preliminary final next time?
Yeah,
Tip,
Yeah.
is that the end of your comments?
yes.
Tip, please.
Nothing else to add. Preliminary final consent.
And I agree with, no, I'm not on consent. I won't do it. Full board.
Okay.
It's just too much landscape, too much. So simple and obvious. Those are the criteria for me for the consent calendar. This is not simple. Okay, so preliminary final full board. Okay, very good. Thank you. Kimberly, Bill is leaving the meeting right now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I leave you, Bill?
No,
Yeah,
yeah, don't tell that them.
I get one day.
Okay, so item number 5 or 4? 5. 5. If you can find chairs, you're all welcome up here. Just before we get started, after we had our site visit today, I wanted to report that I went up Ortega Ridge, turned around and came back down. And I initiated a phone call to Eva. And I just wanted to report that to the board so that there was no question. Okay, so we are on now for which one?
Okay, so this.
New residents. So this is the gatehouse.
This is the gatehouse.
Gatehouse. Okay, very good.
Okay, so we were out there this morning. One of the questions that was asked was the amount of lighting at the gatehouses or just all nearby properties and how this compares. Obviously, we're not able to do that kind of assessment, but I did want to point out that while the number or the amount of lighting may seem larger than normal for this property, there are several property specific items we wanted to point out. The first one being the structure's almost 100.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
5 is for the gatehouse.
Yes.
The first one.
Can we make a comment for the last meeting, please?
Thank you, Chip.
Yes.
I appreciate, thank you very much. Okay, MBAR expressed concerns regarding the architecture, restudy and simplify design. Study other gatehouse structures throughout Montecito community for inspiration. One member suggested moving structure farther back from a adjoining road. One member suggested considering an L-shaped design, consider planting additional trees near the octagon element. That was the southern element. proposed tree lighting excessive, reduce significantly.
I think if you can just respond to those comments.
Yeah, so Katie and Mark will hit the first three, but we have simplified the design and looked at nearby gate structures. I just wanted to speak to the lighting and the siding mostly. So we have been able to reduce, I think, by almost 50% the amount of lighting. Additionally, the structure is about 150 feet from the street. That existing wall will remain, plus we're adding a new wall. So those are also site-specific considerations as far as, mitigating any light that might escape out towards the street. The other interesting component of our lighting is it is dimmable and will actually be at 50% setting. And will only go to 100% when there's motion detected. So that's very specific, I think, to this property. And then we have worked closely with the security company that will be staffing this gatehouse. They need a minimum of 2 foot candles for the cameras to be able to pick up people in the cars, the license plates, etc. And so that is the max that we're at any point on the property, and we are significantly less than that at the gate. So that's just from a lighting perspective. I do think one member of your board had asked if the structure could be moved even further back. And so we had staked the footprint for you today, so you could see there's 3 very large oak trees we're hoping to keep, and that would start infringing into their critical root zone. So we'd like to be able to keep it where it's at if the board is comfortable with that. And with that, I will pass it over to Mark.
And we'll go directly to those comments. So if you go to page 12. So that was what we saw today, just showing the outline of the woodland and the siding of the structures, and that it's 150 feet back. We've done some visualizations for this. If you can go to the next one, please. There's going to be a couple. This is the existing site which you already saw. Next. This is the new site plan, which will show the new building configuration, which Katie will speak to. We've added additional trees to address that comment at the octagon. So those 4 trees and then 3 in front of that building at an L one of them has been added. We have 2 trees that are being removed, and we have 13 trees. Some of them are at another at that utility yard that we showed you previously. So we have over 23 trees that we're going to be mitigating, we have 13 trees. We'll be planting over 24 box trees, and you can see that we're adding a lot here along East Valley Road, also along here as well. And then the orchard is being planted as we speak. If you go to the next. These are just showing the trees that are being mitigated, the one that's in the pavement. If you can skip to the next 2 slides, please. And this is showing the outline of that related to the buildings. And again, the mitigation versus what the proposed, where we're looking at all of those. We go to the next one, please. So this is an existing site, a photo of the original gates. We're keeping everything as you see in terms of the stone and the configuration. New landscape will of course be planted and then planted behind that wall. If you go to the next one. This is proposed. So a cross section looking at the secondary gate as you come in. The building to the left is the revised building architecturally, which Kate will speak to, but there's an elliptical wall that is providing screening with shrubs in front of it. And then that gate, and then to the left, you can see the trees that are screening the building and another fence. We go to the next one, that will be a north-south section looking through the area where they're having checking for service and parking to another gate. As you walk up, then there's the breezeway garage and a small parking area behind that, and the trees, and we have a small retaining wall to protect the trees, but we're mitigating for those. Next. Planting, I won't go over that. Answer your questions. Next. And then materials. I don't think there are any questions. Next, please. Next. and lighting. So the lighting we have reduced significantly. There were 26 downlights for the trees previously, and now there are only 11, so that's been reduced by 45%. And then overall, the rest of it has been reduced by 25%. And again, I'm going back to what Eva said, there's a certain candlelight they require for the cameras. And so we've reduced all of these and putting them on different circuits to try to address that issue. But again, everything is pointed down. Low voltage maximum is 7, minimum is 3 watts. So it's 3 to 7 watts. And let's go to the architecture.
Please.
All right, after our meeting in August, we studied your comments, and so we'll address each item today. The first item is visibility from the road. So we're going to share a few conceptual renderings. This view is what you'd see if you're heading west on East Valley Road. First, we'll see the existing gates and stone wall coming into view. And then if you really squint, you might be able to see the gatehouse peeking through the existing oaks and newly added trees. And then as you recall from the site visit, we looked at the position, which again is more than 100 feet or almost more than 100 feet than required. So if you go to the next sheet, if you're approaching from the opposite direction, you'll experience a similar view, but instead you'll have to try and catch a glimpse through the orchards and existing trees. Again, you can barely see it to the left side of the entry gate.
Aren't you providing new tree
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's without the additional screening.
without the screening?
Yes.
we tried
But those-
adding, yeah, there will be additional ones that Mark pointed out, which aren't represented in
Right
the
here.
conceptual rendering.
But the old orchard is still there.
So if we go to the next sheet. This view is completely hidden, so we can go ahead and skip ahead. So let's go to sheet 32. And at our last meeting, you recommended we restudy the form. We heard you, and we went back and studied gatehouses in the community and also looked back at Reginald Johnson's design of the main residence for inspiration. To simplify the design, we refined the form, roof, and materiality. We also connected the garage with a new pergola. This connection helps screen parking and allows natural light to enter the house, all while providing a critical central path for the property's caretakers and security team. So go to the next sheet. This shows the simpler roof plan with intersecting gable roofs. If you go to the next sheet. Johnson's designs have inspired us in both form and material to create a restrained but respectful complement to the main residence. You've seen a lot of these images before, so I'll just touch on what has changed. Starting at the top left, the gatehouse material palette is painted brick. This now intersects the adjacent stone side walls. And then you'll see in a moment how we reference the main gable with brick vents and window detailing. And then similar to the top right, the pergola saw in plan is supported by brick columns, creating an extension of the facade. And lastly, the wood detailing, including the rafter tails, eaves, and porch columns are now painted the same color to match the walls, or the same color as the walls to match the main residence. And then we go to the next sheet. To show these revisions and elevation, we either include the previous design at the top and then you on the bottom. So this is the south elevation of the house. You can make it out through the vegetation. This is the primary facade that you would see from East Valley Road. You'll notice the octagonal form has been replaced with a simple gable facade, and we simplified the material palette, eliminating the mix of stone and plaster. Facades are now painted brick, with brick detailing at the gable vents and windows to complement the main residence. So go to the next sheet. You have the house on the left and garage on the right, and this would be what you see as you drive through the new gate. The roof is much simpler now, and on the right side of the house, you'll notice the revised columns at the covered porch to match those found at the main residence. And then adjacent to that, the new pergola connecting the garage. So go to the next page. The west elevation is the most private view of the gatehouse. You can only see this if you're standing in the orchards, looking back towards it. Other than the change in material detailing and octagonal form in the background, this elevation remains unchanged. However, you will notice the new pergola in the foreground. And then to get a better sense of this, let's go to the next sheet. And this view is cutting through the pergola to show the north elevation of the house as seen from the central path. The double gable facade that you saw in the last view is repeated at the covered porch. And then at areas embraced by the building, engaged brick columns provide support with the new pergola overhead. The pergola extends the full length of the path leading to the parking, creating a graceful connection between buildings. Then I have one more slide to wrap it up. So here's our restrained material palette with textures and colors inspired by Johnson's design of the main residence. We love this design for the gatehouse even more. We feel that it is subtle and elegant in all the best ways. So thank you for your time. And we are now available for questions.
Questions, Dave, please.
What is the mounting height of the lights, downlights in the trees?
Depending on the trees, I'd say it's probably about 15 feet.
That's my question. Thanks.
Robert, questions, please.
No question.
Chip?
Yeah, so I have a question about the design for the house. Because you keep calling it a gatehouse, and I assume it's a gatehouse, but obviously this is not like a typical gatehouse, that you have a guy standing in the gatehouse, look out the window and say who's coming in, who's coming out. Because the nearest function near the driveway, I assume the living room, it seems like a nice big room with tiny little windows. So just a question, how are you going to function at the gatehouse? There's one lever and they run from the kitchen out to the gate, or how to work?
It's basically for the caretakers to stay, and again, act as a security team. And because this is the only structure on the site too, that it's considered a single family residence and hard client house for short.
Yeah, so when we have a big party, someone will sit out front and greeting the guests.
Exactly.
Like today.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's just a space for them, yeah, to be there and monitor people in and out.
Or deliveries, you know, it is an active ag orchard, and so there's a lot of deliveries that come in, and things like
Yes,
that.
everything is checked through that.
It's worth mentioning the interior of our space is designed so that a lot of the wall space is filled with monitors. So the combination of the direct view of the gate and the monitors for the cameras is the way that space should work.
Okay, that's my question. Thank you.
What's the minimum light level at the exterior of a house on a patio? Anybody know? I do. Do you guys know?
Can you share that?
1 foot candle by code. They say 1 foot candle is enough to make sure that everybody's okay. Okay, so you've got a pair of doors, French doors, you go outside, 1 foot candle. You're twice that. Okay, and I think that what you're really concerned about is keeping your eye at 6 feet or 8 feet down, right? You're not expecting airplanes to come through here, you know, drones, although that may change given what's going on over in Asia, Eurasia. But it seems to me that the light angle of incidence equals the angle of reflection. As you come down, you're sending that light everywhere. But if you were able to devise lighting that was lower and pointed right where it is that you wanted, if you want to read license plates, you don't want to have light coming down like this. You want light coming in like this to read it. Okay, and if somebody trips it, I've got a raccoon that lives over near me. And so we have a little light that shines out, and that raccoon has decided not to live with us anymore. Okay, so I think that the configuration of the light can, number one, be reduced even farther. And number two, can be more useful to you if you think about what the use of that light is, which is so far has been represented. We want to secure the property, not that we want to highlight the property. I think the lighting that you have shown now is highlighting the property. We normally ask the tree mounted lights be 12 feet or lower. You said 15, no biggie. But I think that if you figured out that what you're trying to do is to get that bottom 6 or 8 feet and somehow get it located so that it really can't be seen beyond that, but it is clearly triggered when there's a problem. I'm not trying to put you guys at greater security risk, not at all. But I'm trying to do everything I can to keep Montecito as dark as possible. So the question is, after that expose, would you be willing to explore a wholesale reconsideration of how the light is to be used and the minimum that can be employed to get the exact use that you're interested in? That's the question. Would you be willing to do that, please?
Yes, we'd be willing to look at that. Are there certain metrics that we should be? Do you want us to try and hit only 1 foot candle, 2 foot candle, not go above a certain thing?
I don't want any foot candles.
Yeah.
Okay, but I do understand that you guys have a security risk or you have a perceived security risk. But the reason I brought up the 1 foot candles, that's what the code says, you know?
There was a study that was done by the lighting team, I think, in coordination with the security, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe some of the trees, even though they may be higher level, I believe they're actually supplementing some of the required that they needed for the lower level.
That's right.
Because
So,
we studied all the various
and we can,
levels.
we can do what you're saying, but it may add more lights. It may not be it might be a different light. But that's one of the reasons they chose to have, if you look at our lighting plan, they have very specifically located these lights only where they're pointing to, to the areas of access.
So can you
it's-
give us a foot candle
Yeah.
analysis?
Yeah.
Yeah, why don't you go and do
Okay.
that? Because
There was there was a.
I know
study
how to
that they-
read.
And it's less than, I'm sorry, also out here, it's less than one, and everything outside of the first gate is less than 2 foot candle. It only gets 2 foot candle right here at the gate and inwards, but we will do a light study for you.
We have it.
We have it.
Sharp cutoff. So no light spills out into Jeff's property or anyone else's property.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was the question. Public comment. We do have a public comment speaker. Please come up. We need to pick you up here. Is it Jeff or Jeffrey? This is Jeff Connor. He lives across the street. 3 minutes or less, please.
No problem. I think the board is in particularly hit on one of our most significant issues, that is lighting. I would note, just like your raccoon, our motion detectors go off all the time, including when large insects get in the way. And I'm concerned that these lights will be going on a lot. I don't know enough about the technology of motion detectors to know whether it's possible to have less sensitive, whatever. I mean, a deer walks by a bear, whatever. I can only tell you all the time we have these lights going on. And I do think that would make a real difference to have all this light. And I'm not quite sure why there's a need for lights by the outer gate. The security is the inner gate, not the outer gate. For that matter, if somebody wants to come on the property, they just hop the fence up, and they have to drive through this enormous property. Can be bad intentions for this. The other is the other issue you talked about, and that is the visibility of the property. And I appreciate that the efforts we made. I've been add some trees. I don't quite see the picture or understand what it would look like with the new trees. I also don't know what the size of the trees would be. We were getting about earlier about, I'll be on the other side of the grass by the time the trees are tall enough to be an obstruction. So I would ask that the board consider that. The other thing that would make the lighting issue less is if in fact the building was moved back and further from the road, and that's sort of a trade-off. Less light hits the street if it's farther back. And I don't know the regulations that apply about removal of trees, and there's a lot of trees on that property, so one or two trees being removed. I don't know what the word mitigated means either.
If you take out a tree, the county requires that you put in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, depending on the size.
I see.
That's called a mitigation tree.
I see.
Okay.
Well, so perhaps if one removed an existing oak tree and mitigated it, then you get the security back, and I don't imagine the security issue itself there's less security if you're back a little bit. So those are the issues, and I appreciate the opportunity to address the board.
Thank you very much. Is there anybody else that would like to address the board on item number 5, 2500 East Valley Road, please?
I know this one.
Okay, very good. So comments from the board, please. We are on for further conceptual today. So back same order, Dave, please.
Yeah, as far as the architecture goes, I appreciate the changes you've made between the last round and this one. You've really looked to the historic house for the key elements, and I think that ties the whole property together, so I fully support you in that.
Kimberly, yes, I have the name.
So I don't really have any concerns with that. I think the landscaping, going to the site today and seeing the distance from the street, I'm completely comfortable with that as well, given the landscape that you're proposing, the walls, and in my mind, it's not that we can't see the structure at all, but that it just isn't an impact. I think actually, as a rural property and a working orchard and everything, this seems appropriate to me, so I'm happy with it. My main concern, which has already been touched on, is the lighting. I think our charge is to maintain a semi-rural character of Montecito. For some reason now, lighting has become an issue on a lot of our projects. I think the more it's dark at night, the more consistent it is with rural Montecito. So I have strong concerns about your lighting. I would really need much more justification to consider supporting it, and would ask you to really take a look at just having lighting just what you need for security, because this is right where your property meets the road and your neighbors and the neighbor who spoke. So I think that's my one large concern, but everything else I think it looks very nice.
And where should we go next with this, please? We are on for concept today.
Yeah, I'd be fine with preliminary final to the board for sure. But for me, it hinges on the lighting.
Okay, are you done?
Yes.
Robert, please.
I don't have much to add to that. I really appreciate the new design. I think it's much more fitting, and I think the whole idea with this is to make it look like it was built there back in 1930 or whatever, and I think you've accomplished that. But in that vein, something built in the 20s or 30s is going to have minimal lighting, and being an agricultural and a historic property, that's definitely something that's going to be looked at the next meeting, and if someone's going to come in, they're not coming in through the front door or the front gate. I mean, so if you just focus on what you need, to get the license plates or whatever, and tone down the rest of it, I think you're gonna be better on. That's it.
Preliminary next time.
I didn't come for preliminary final to address what we're
Okay, and
talking
you were
about.
okay with preliminary final?
Yes.
Okay, and Tip, please, comments?
Can I see the other elevation of the building?
Go back. Is there a particular elevation?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, go back to.
Oh, okay.
I think
Keep
like
going back.
36 or 37.
That's the first part.
Okay, stay, great, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I definitely agree with all the other comments. I think that the last design, the roof kind of problematic. So you simplify it, you get rid of the roof problem, which I thought is, yeah, definitely is better. On one hand, I just feel like maybe it could be a little more interesting, you know, because I look at how the architectural, the vernacular architectural elements evolve through times. You know, in the past, you know, all the windows are really tiny and small because that's what the technology allowed you to do. And that's why all the buildings in the 20s or 30s of the GW Smith home, they were small windows, just because it probably more of the time. And we see it's a very traditional building, so it doesn't have to be that small, but I just feel that, you know, such a beautiful site, someone to live there full time. And it's your decision, of course, and I think that looking at all those tiny little windows, it just be a missed opportunity to do a traditional building, but still make it more taking advantage of the environment. So that's one thing that I feel that it's definitely acceptable, it's approvable, but it, I think, could be a little more special at the low building, because some gatehouses are very beautiful in Montecito, you know, which is just so that's one of the comments that I was thinking about the project. And the second is about the lighting. It's definitely
It's the fire.
should we leave now? The lighting, you know, so, you know, I actually, I live down the street, so I drive this road 3 times a day, day and night.
1, 2, 3.
Yeah, exactly.
Four. Just thank you for observing. Just checking. And I mean, it's a nice, quiet, very dark. That's what make it interesting about Montecito, you know. Someone try to rob you at night, they can't find a way out. That's the best part about it. So I should make sure by the time it's done, it's the same. You don't drive to East Valley Road to see a glow of light behind the gate. And that's something that really we did to try to avoid at all costs. Because I know that when we approved the Miramar Hotel years ago, we really were very careful with the lighting. But then, you know, since the resort to come to the Miramar Hotel at nighttime, you know, we have light hanging every tree. It's just like Disneyland, you know. I love it, but it's not something that we approve. So this is really, really a public way, and so I make sure that the lighting is as low as possible. Especially that seems like that's the intention of the owner anyway, to keep it low key.
Right.
You don't want to let people know that this is the
Yeah, very low. Yep.
okay, and this I definitely can come back for preliminary final 1%.
No, for more.
For more again?
Yeah, I think so. Don't.
Yeah,
for more,
the lighting.
for the
yes.
lighting. Yeah. I don't think I have anything to add, with the exception that somebody made a comment about, why don't you have a direct connection from the security room out to the driveway? I thought that that was a well-taken comment, and I might encourage you to take a look at that on this elevation, add a door or something.
In addition to provide.
Well, now you're going this way and then coming out, as opposed to just coming out.
Aligning it in reverse.
Can we do the floor plan, please? Floor plan.
It's, I think, 32, 34. Yeah, 32.
So rather than going up and then to the right, just going to the right. Just at least think
Having a
about,
door on that.
yeah,
eastern elevation.
that, when you go and you look at the other guest house, the other gatehouses, there's always a direct connection right from that room, the security room, straight out. So if you don't want to do it, it's fine. This is beautiful. If you want to take that opportunity, I think it might be something interesting. And Tip was right. That might be a way to add a little bit of something special there, to add just a little extra touch. But it's a nice building. I mean, if you want this, it's great. So, okay, so preliminary final at the next full board. Okay, and Jeff, you will not be notified except if you're on the list, on the email list.
I don't know if I can.
So please talk to him.
Can't probably speak as last time, right?
Put your email before you leave, put this on here, okay? Okay, item number 6, same group of people, but now this is what they call the guest house. The comments were site visit and story polls required. We had our meeting today. MBAR expressed strong concerns regarding the quantity of grading and site disturbance. Restudy siting of structure. Several members expressed concerns regarding architecture and massing. Proposed tree lighting excessive, reduced significantly. Okay. Eva?
Okay, so, again, we were out there today. The grading, Mark will be covering, but as we discussed, we were able to cut the grading in half. And he can discuss how we went about that. The question regarding the siting, so that is a logical question on such a large property with 31 legal lots, so I totally get it. And especially given that, people keep saying, well, you could have a house on every one of those 31 legal lots, why not stick it somewhere else? The fact of the matter is, yes, the county has to allow a house on a legal lot. If that lot is impacted by ESHA or trees, and the only way to get a house on there is to remove those, the county has to allow it, right? And so what it comes down to is, we have a large property, these owners have priorities, and given those priorities, this is what makes sense. For the record, those priorities are: 1, this is intended to be used as a guest house. It will have the only pool on the 230 acres or 280 acres. So adjacency to the main house is important, which, as you saw, this achieves that. Protection of ESHA to the maximum extent feasible. We're completely outside of not only any ESHA, but any ESHA buffers. Protection of individual oak trees. And then again, having a fairly, even though we have a large grading number, it is a fairly flat site, and that is not the case for a lot of this property. And then not segmenting the existing ag use. So one of the draws of this property to these owners was the existing ag operation. They do want to keep it. As you saw, they're in the process of planting several hundred, if not 1,000 trees. We do want to clarify, we did hear back from the ag consultants since our meeting this morning. So those trees will be about 8 feet high within 4 years.
Which, can you read the comments?
I did.
Oh, you did already?
Yeah.
Where was I?
Well, maybe one of those trips you were doing on East Valley. So given all of those priorities, we do feel like this is the site. We understand it's visible from Ortega. We did take some pictures today because we didn't have any with the story pulls up, so we can discuss that. But we feel that the combination of the distance from Ortega, the materials. So one of the questions that was asked last time is, given the proximity to the house, and I think it was your question, Robert, why not have it match the architecture and the materials of the house? Why have it be this kind of more agrarian style? And that is one of the reasons for that is the house is white. So we don't want a stark white structure there, even though those exist, you know, in the area. The whole point of this was to have it blend into the environment and into the ag operation, and we feel we've achieved that with the materials. So also moving it elsewhere, there are other places where there isn't ESHA, but then you're just moving it closer to other neighbors or Romero Canyon Road. So again, in this area, it's very far away from most anything, and we feel that the distance and the material combo will help it really blend into the landscape nicely. So that's the answer to that. And then with the lighting, again, on this one, we were able to reduce significantly based on your comments on the other one. I suspect we'll have discussion about lighting here as well, but Mark will go into that in more detail. And
just a real quick on this existing site plan, just to show you where we have looked at different locations. The main house is here, and we wanted to have something that's within, you know, proximity, so the owners who may have accessibility issues can get to. But we looked at having it here. It's too close to Romero Creek Drive Road. We looked it up at that location where the existing caretaker's house is, but there's a lot of ESHA things there. There's also a Reginald Johnson building here that we looked at perhaps having a cluster of homes here, but we felt that might impact that, and we also had ESHA issues and more grading. And then all over here, it's even more visible and higher, and it's actually not buildable. So that's kind of why we came back to this one location that's for all these certain reasons. If you go to the next, please. So this is the updated plan that's showing the configuration of the landscape. You've all seen this. This is a bocce court down at the bottom. This is the only place where we have a lawn. It's the only flat area for the children and the grandchildren to play. This whole area over here will be turning into an oak woodland, and it will help to screen from that view. These trees will be installed at 20-25 foot height. So these will help to screen, and then we're putting a tree over here for shade and for additional screening. But we also have the ability to have more screening in different areas. And then these trees all here will be planted to help further buffer it from any neighbors to the west. If we go to the next one, this shows to the right what our previous grading was. It was trying to kind of more seamlessly integrate with the topography, but we are cutting it back by almost more than half, actually. And with just some slight variations, we've got some tighter grades that we're pulling in, and we reduced some ADA ramps that were longer than needed. So we reduced that by half, and we can accommodate all of that on our site by additional grading from different parcels. If you go to the next slide. That's showing the grading where this is the east-west section. So this is showing the existing grade. This is what I was explaining before, where we had the higher grade previously, and then this is currently the current grade, and we have some small walls to help lower that. And then the same thing over here. That's a more gentle grade, but now we're taking a little bit steeper up there. We go to the next one. And then these are those different configurations where we looked. Number one was when we were trying to match it more and where it was more level, but it was impacting the ESHA zone. So we moved it again to area 2 that still had some impact. And so we pushed it just a little bit farther to really stay away. And that's where we're at now, which is the brown. When we went down, the purple went down, and that was causing even more grading. So that's why we came back up slightly to that, to where we are at the brown. We go to the next. Then these are the lightings. Now here, we reduced a lot more because it's not the security issue. So we used to have a lot more lights in those trees. Those trees now only have 2. So it used to be from 60 to 30 now. And it's been reduced to 49 or 43%. And overall, we've reduced it by 59 9% in terms of the lights. So it's been pretty dramatic on this one.
And the one thing I forgot to mention too, to keep in mind here is this truly will be a guest house, unlike the gatehouses will not serve a security function. It will not have someone living in it full time. And so the lights will really only be used when there are guests in on the property.
So I think we'll go to the next one. Oh, and I'm sorry, one last one. This is one we used to have the orchards. Now it's all brown, so it's more visible. But we did a superimpose of the actual building, and then these are the trees that we proposed. So you can see how they're starting to screen the building.
And then do you want to show them?
And then this.
It's hard, sorry.
It's really hard. Sorry, I think you don't think that we're like fibbing, sorry, but that. Sorry. But there's the story poles there.
They're right here.
Yeah.
So.
And they will have, planting
And again, all that brown area will be orchard.
I was shocked how potentially visible this was. Yes, you're using very dark, rough material, so it's not going to be shiny, except there's a combining element between the two structures. But I was amazed at how visible I found that to be from Montecito Beach Road. So
Just a few things to add. This property doesn't actually abut Ortega Ridge. So it's across the canyon. And then as you can see, actually, there's other houses too. So I think that's what we're trying to avoid is some of these other white, highly contrasted structures on the hillside. So I think that's why we're trying to blend it in more.
We know you can see it.
Yeah, we're just trying to screen it and
Between the landscaping and the colors.
So did you want to do an architectural presentation?
we can continue on.
Do we need it? I've seen it.
It's building check.
Okay,
Last
so,
time.
We've added two little things that I can just point
Yeah.
out, they're minor.
yeah, go ahead, please.
I'll just kind of, if you go to the next slide. So in this view, on the 1-story wing, one revision we've added is we've extended the roof and we've added the brackets that flank the doors to provide a little bit more texture and articulation to represent some of those concept images that were liked, I'm sure back in August and were on site. So that's one change. And then if you go to the next, this is just another view. You can see the extended overhang again over on the right side building. And then we go one more, we'll show you the second. So on the side of this building, we created another roof extension. Again, creating a little bit more articulation and texture. And then if you go to the last slide. This again, we share it on site, but it's just the key to the site is the integration of the surrounding trees, both existing and new, and how it gets nestled into the rolling hillside. So while still being respectful to the main residents, the guest house responds to its agrarian environment in massing, familiar vernacular form, and warmer mid-tone material palette for minimal visual impact. So
Guys,
that's it.
everybody done? Okay. Questions, Tip?
No questions.
Dave,
No questions.
Robert,
No question.
Mark, you said, can we go back to somewhere up north, just keep going up? This pointer doesn't seem to work very well. Can I get no.
My word.
Okay, that's good. That's good. That's good. I want to know, with augmentation of trees along the side, why this area up here can't be used? You've got the entire buffer already created for you.
I know.
And that's where you started.
We started because we love the scrolling. I mean, it's a pasture with these beautiful oaks that are there, and so we love that. And we looked at this, and yes, we thought about the screening, but if you go out there, it's very open right now. I mean, you would have to have a tremendous amount of screening, and the clients really did not want it to be that close to the property line. They wanted it farther into the property.
You do also, there is some back, so one, that is a flood zone, that the debris flow came down that, so that's one issue. Separately from that, as we mentioned on the site today, we are replacing the bridge that got taken out of the debris flow. As part of that, we were working with CDFW to enhance that creek, that portion of creek, because just above it, you have the county debris basin, which they just redid and made fish friendly. When we were, this is probably more than you need to know, but when we were doing the bridge, we did not have enough area of the full creek to make the creek bed fish friendly, which is what CDFW would have wanted. However, that is still their hope. And so the idea is that may in the future actually be widened if there is grant money and neighbor buy-in, which was the biggest problem. So CDFW is hoping to still do that, and we have preliminarily entered into agreements with them. So that's why we're planting the oaks there, to create the riparian area, so that if that creek gets extended, the riparian area already exists.
So, yes, I'm sorry.
We have a client with accessibility issues,
Yeah.
problems. So the goal was also to get it close enough to the house so the use of the pool and the family focus wouldn't be a real imposition. So
It seems like it's closer.
it's further uphill road. It's quite a-
Yes, that's a correct one.
Okay, so it looks like you're proposing sycamores in around the house, the guest house.
Oh, most of them are oaks. There was, this is the architectural.
This is the conceptual rendering. So.
Yeah, it's oaks.
Okay,
We have oaks and then we have a lot of olives.
The main house mitigation does have a lot of sycamores, but again, because the.
no, I was looking at the renderings that you just.
Oh, okay.
It's just, yeah,
Okay.
for representation.
It seems to me that the houses in Montecito that work successfully with the community have significant amount of screening at the house, which I don't see on your plans yet. Would you be willing to, are you attempting to have an open vista, which I have never heard you guys describe as being important to you? Or can you bring in oaks? You had one, I don't know, 30-foot high oak or something?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if you can bring something else in
Sure.
that will automatically provide that shade. Is that something that you would be willing to consider? That's the question.
Yes, and we have oaks on site that we are planning to move that are very large, so we can easily do that.
We literally have a nursery.
We have a nursery on site and a great contractor.
Public comment, Jeffrey, come on up and then add your email address to this, please. Thank you, Eva.
Let me do that. Let me talk to you guys first and then.
Thanks.
This home is of greater concern to us than the gatehouses. It's this house would be visible from Taylor's Road, but it's absolutely visible from our property. As we saw today, look out the different levels of the tower from the house. We can't see the big house from our property. We will absolutely see this and just be smack dab in the middle. If, as you were talking about, if trees were put in of sufficient height that we couldn't see it, well, then I can't object to it. You know, that's, and lighting is a real issue. We couldn't put a tennis court and light it there, even if it's, you know, the comment was, well, it won't be used all the time. You can put, couldn't have a lit tennis court, you know, 30 days a year, could you? And I don't, I mean, if it's necessary, the pool's only used during the day or, you know, when it isn't dark, you know, maybe that's the compromise. But I do think it would just stand out like a sore thumb to have this house, which is much closer to us and to East Valley Road than say the big house or those houses that are up in the mountains. I think that would, you know, the lighting would be a really significant issue. The last thing, a conceptual issue I would just raise with you. I think we cannot think of this house solely as it will be for the current owner. There was a comment made when we were up there saying, well, you know, it could have been worse, it could have built 31 houses. And what it raised in my mind is, yeah, I don't know how old the current owners are, but if the children or grandchildren live in New York City or whatever, they're gonna dump this project. I mean, it's a $100 million property. They're not gonna, I don't know who they're gonna sell it to. None of us know. Could be private equity, it could be some oligarch somewhere, you know, and they're gonna look at it and say, well, yeah, we got 31 lots. I'm gonna, so my only thought when I heard this was, look at this proposal in the context of a different situation than thinking about it as old folks with grandkids who, you know, are here and love the area. It's just, it could, like that, it could be a totally different picture.
Please add your email address. Okay, so anybody else like to address the board on item number 6, 2500 East Valley Road, please?
No additional things.
Okay. So we are back to comments. We are on for further conceptual. Chip, it's up to you. Comments, please.
Well, seeing the site very helpful today, and I think that probably is an appropriate place for the house, but I do agree that we probably need some better screening facing south. And instead of putting drum road, whatever you have in front. Perhaps you maybe have to be back and try to let the house blend in a little better with landscaping, which is no landscaping right now. So that's other than that, I think it'd be a nice project.
And
The
next,
lighting is also concerned.
next,
And I think, yeah, we should first actually come back, because landscaping be a big issue, so I'd like to go back to the full.
preliminary or preliminary final.
Preliminary final.
Okay, Dave, please.
Yeah, so I want to start by acknowledging that you have 30 parcels and you're not developing them. And what you're doing right now is preserving the agrarian field, replanting. All those things are very real, very appreciated. As your neighbor said, that could change in the future, but I think what you're proposing, to my mind, shows a lot of restraint. You know, really, you're doing a great job of preserving what's there now. I think the house itself is the same as the gatehouse, the materials and the way they blend with the site. They're not light and reflective. They're more, and they have an agrarian feel. Again, I think that's very appropriate. And once I visited the site, I felt like this site is very, very appropriate. It is somewhat visible, but I don't think that's a bad thing. There's many houses in Montecito that are visible. It's the impact, and a house like this feels appropriate to the site, to the agrarian use. That all being said, if you can add more screening, all the better. And if that works for you and your client, it certainly helps with the public and the neighbors. And I would highly encourage you to do that. So for me, it all comes back to the lighting again. And I very strongly, very strong concerns about the lighting on this project, because that's the one area that makes this project visible and atypical of what's there now. It does not seem appropriate to me. So, and I don't think it's an essential use for a guest house either. So I would, to have my support, you really need to take a hard look at the lighting as I mentioned on the gatehouse. But overall, I think it's really a great proposal, and with a different owner, we could be looking at a whole different thing. And I want to acknowledge that. I think you get some credit for that. And I think you're doing the right thing. So it's just the lighting.
Robert? Comments?
Well, I agree. I believe it's a win-win in this current configuration, and short of lot mergers, there's nothing we as a board could do anyway. It's 31 legal lots, so it is, and so I think we should consider this fortunate that its use is so agrarian and minimal compared to what it could be. And, you know, the only thing I'm concerned about is I did drive Ortega Ridge. And, you know, we are supposed to consider public views more so than private views, believe it or not. And so again, it just comes down to screening and lighting. That was my only concerns as well. That's it.
And I agree with the board. If I've been trying to get this house moved into an oak woodland. If you can't move the house into the woodland, maybe you can bring the woodland into the house.
I like it. New motto.
Pick up the woodland and forget it.
You guys let us.
Just like Mohammed in the mountain. So I think it's pretty clear where we want you to go. I don't think we should try preliminary final. I think we should try preliminary. It's an easy drop for the next meeting to get it. But I think that there will probably be comments about the lighting and the oak trees and stuff like that. And let's not fool anybody, but if you guys want to take the details as far as you want to take architectural, I think most of the issues are going to be here, not here. But, you know, I don't know that you need to take everything on the landscape plans all the way. Because as I said, I think the lighting and the screening will be, what we can get you on the next meeting for concept and get you. Oh, yeah. So I would say preliminary next time. Is that okay with everybody?
Yeah, I'm still okay with them shooting for final at their own risk, if that's.
Issue, I think if they can do it, you know, where then they should.
With the understanding that, especially with
Yeah,
the lighting.
you're not, we don't get to the lighting. Yeah, let's-
Preliminary final.
Sure.
Preliminary
Full
final.
Full work.
Full, yeah, yeah.
Can I ask just for clarification on lighting, is there just because it's such a subjective thing, right? We want to get to a point where it works for the owners and it works for you, but it's hard not knowing if is there a threshold? Is there like a number? Is it a number of lights thing? Is it a wattage thing? Is it, you want to
Foot
put
candle.
candles on this one?
All of the above.
Robert drove Ortega Ridge. I drove Ortega Ridge. I was actually, my concern jumped 100% when I was up there, public views. He's absolutely correct about that. So just as low as possible, and then chances are we're going to ask you to take it down even farther. I mean, we don't want this community to turn into Beverly Hills,
No.
period.
Yeah.
Okay,
Would 1 foot candle be the goal?
Well,
let's see what you've got.
lights versus lights hanging from trees.
Distance from ground.
Landscaping that conceals the lighting, you know.
Yeah.
It can conceal light in the same.
Down lights that are low. Just necessary for safety and getting around, but not.
And so you enjoy the sky and everyone else does too.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's helpful. Thank you.
anything else? Okay, thank you all. Item number 7,
Can I get 3 minutes?
yeah, we'll take a 5-minute break, everybody.
Thank you.
There's a memo.
to make it this long.
Okay.
Okay, so we are back. Item number 7580 Santa Angelina, whatever it is, Lane. There is a memo, received conceptual approval from the Montecito Fire Protection, removed the roof deck, provided a hedge along the western property line, removed the portion of the driveway in front of the ADU, and there were comments. Confirm access complies with fire department, obviously they did. Provide documentation to ensure roof decks do not impact privacy. Provide space for landscape screening along the driveway, along west property line. Modest well-designed proposal, restudy concrete patio adjacent to the garage. So Ken, are you here? Did I see you up there?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Okay, welcome.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, members of the board, thanks for being here. The property owners, Sam Collin and Sam Hecht and Kim Collin are here as well. We introduced them. We've been collaborating with them because they're renowned international industrial designers. So the house is a very, very simple, serene one-story house with a carport workshop on the other end of the property. If you can zoom in if you like, or we can go quicker. It's 0.77 acres on the end of a cul-de-sac, sort of touching the cul-de-sac diagonally. You can see there, there's 1,831 square feet of main house and a 462 square foot workshop that has a carport attached to each structure. If we go ahead and look at page 3, you can see the photos. So the aerial photo gives a good overview of that situation. This property backs up to the Upper Village, kind of car repair property and so forth. And then it's adjacent, it touches on the cul-de-sac. It is completely surrounded by tall hedges and occupied by a lot of different various trees and shrubs and hedges on the interior. So we could, I think that gives you the flavor. And we can return for anything that you want. Here's the survey of that site. Now turned the bottom is the cul-de-sac, and you can see the south. This is the grading plan. This driveway, which has all been approved, is sort of that reinforced permeable gravel structure. So very, very low-key, native and natural palette for everything on this property is desired. Just to sort of camp at the top with the house and work at the bottom with the garage and workshop, and walk in between and enjoy a pool and a landscape. I think if you go to the next page 6 is the L1.1, the landscape, which also gives you an overview of exactly how the site is working. Again, you can see the main residence with a little captured, covered outdoor space facing the quiet north side, maintaining essentially the existing site access point and circulation with this all-weather sort of a permeable gravel driveway and a pool right by the main house. There's really the landscape. The new landscape proposed is some oak trees as mitigation for removed trees. But other than that, really maintaining this very, very low water use, simple existing landscape. You could probably just go pass through the next several pages. This is the hydrozones. We have a little bit of spray and mostly drip irrigation. It's all low water use, and we're kind of just working to maintain mostly existing stuff and then adding a few oak trees. That's the demolition plan. We're removing a very old and decrepit house and garage. Next. This is the site plan, which is essentially identical to the landscape plan that you saw already. And you could keep going forward through. This shows the approved fire access. This is 2.1. Yeah, that's 11. I think, let's see, this is the,
I didn't know that we need to see the floor plans, Ken.
yeah, okay, great. Then in that case, one thing that I would say that we should probably go right to PDF page 15, which is the elevations. So this you can see just the utter simplicity and serenity of this low slung house, and relating to essentially a flat site. There were in the original time when we were here, the owners were contemplating roof decks because they thought it would be nice to get up there for mountain views. But in these steps, we realized that isn't necessary. You can see the mountains from the ground, and everything is simpler and easier and less complicated to just stay on this beautiful site. The palette, there is a materials palette sheet submitted that would be separate from this document, I think. Do you guys have that? Yeah. Again, this just shows this really, really simple. The steel columns are just galvanized pipe, clear anodized windows. There's a trellis between the shop and an ADU that is wood. The exterior siding is treated wood with vertical varying width T&G boards, treated to prevent rot and make it more fire resistant. And of course, it'll be a fire resistant assembly. Roofing is built up roofing with a sandy broadcast finish. The fascia is painted to be in the same sort of color palette as the roof. And the hardscape is, again, this just very sort of old school aggregate concrete. And we could, I think, other things that you might be interested in are the lighting, which would be like the last three sheets are the electrical plans.
Any landscape lighting?
None proposed.
Okay. Are you done?
Done.
Questions? We are on for prelim today. Questions, Robert?
No questions.
Tip?
No questions.
Dave?
No questions.
Ken, can we go to the site plan PDF 6, please?
Yep.
We asked you to enhance that hedge along the west property line. And I see a darker color green hedge on 3 sides on your side of the property and a lighter green hedge on the outside of your property. Is there a way to get a darker green, darker green hedge on the west property line on your side?
It's really disruptive because we come in so narrow on this existing path. But if you zoom in on there, you can see that we have an existing 3-foot planting zone between the drive surface and the property line. So there's existing hedge on the neighbor's property, an existing hedge on our property. And so we feel pretty comfortable that we can maintain the status quo, which is sort of neighborly isolation.
Okay, thank you. Public comment. Is there anybody that would like to address the board on item number 7, 580 Santa Angela? Is that it, Angela?
Yes.
Thank you. Anybody, please?
Outstanding hand raised for this.
Okay, comments. We are on for preliminary. Robert?
I think it's a nice, simple project, and it doesn't seem like it's gonna impact neighbors. I do wish there was, the driveway wasn't cramped so close to the property line, but other than that, I like it.
Chip,
Yeah, I think it's ready for preliminary approval as presented.
Dave,
Yeah, I think it's a very nicely conceived design, and the removal of the roof decks it was the one impact that I was concerned about. So I think it's a great project. I'm fully supportive.
Ken, if we condition this project to get another, let's say, 3 feet of landscaping on the west side, could you do that?
It's verging on catastrophic. Otherwise we would have added more. The previous previously when we came, we were actually putting it like 1 foot away from the property line last time we were here, and we realized that was a mistake. Partly at your questions, so we're tight on between some existing trees on the right-hand side that really want to be maintained, and so I'm really an advocate for just maintaining the status quo of this existing driveway.
Okay, thank you. Members of the board, what do you think? Is that going to be okay, or do we need to make him squirm, as it were?
I'm okay with 3 feet.
Which is what, Ken, you have 3 feet now, right?
Yes.
Robert?
And it's existing, correct?
I don't think.
It
you-
is. There's existing planting. There is existing planting there. Yeah.
Driveway is existing,
It is existing there as well. Yes.
then I'm okay with it.
Tip,
Yeah, fine.
would somebody like to make a motion? We're on for preliminary, please.
Yeah, I'll make a motion for preliminary approval as submitted.
Is there a second, please?
I'll second that.
Any further discussion, please? All those in favor?
Aye.
With final on consent, yes?
Yes.
Okay, thanks, Ken. We'll see you on.
Thanks for your help.
Okay. Item number 8, the last item we have, 2445 Sycamore Canyon Road. Brian, are you here, please?
I am here.
Okay, good. So we did a site visit of this a while ago. This is that very thin property that goes back. It's got an ADU and garages, and then the work is in the back.
Yes.
So can we start with the FAR, please? It's right there.
Yes, I do realize that the FAR, when I initially submitted, was incorrect. The current FAR is 113%, and that has been included on the plans. I don't, for some reason, I sent in the updated FAR totals to the county, but apparently those plans got lost or something. I'm not sure, but this will definitely be included on the plans, but that is the FAR for this project. For those of you that are not familiar with this project, it was the house originally was a chauffeur's cottage for an estate, which was subdivided, I think, in the 50s. And the clients want to add an addition to a master bedroom suite and kind of improve the floor plan, make it a little more livable. The style of the addition completely matches the existing structure. It's 1 story. Like was said, it's an interior lot, so you don't even see it from the street, Sycamore Canyon. We've also included the arborist report on sheet A1-1, which is on the lower left there, because there are a couple oak trees there that they definitely want to preserve. Let's see what other on the noted was the.
Can you go and show us the FAR study? We asked.
Oh,
you to-
yes. Okay, so I had an issue trying to figure out the FAR. I did submit something here showing the comparison properties. I didn't realize it, but there are some really huge estates surrounding this property. In fact, the next door neighbor house, which was part of the original estate, the square footage was over 12,000 square feet. So what I did here is I wrote the square footage of the existing homes and then the size of the acreage. And so it kind of gives you an idea. And then the squared area on the left is my project. And it, to me, I think I was hoping that from seeing this, that you can see that it is the FAR is definitely compatible with the existing properties. Now, if you do want an FAR, I'll come back with the next meeting with that documentation. I just couldn't get the thing to work at this point in time.
Okay, move along then, please.
Let's see, what was the other thing? Oh, and they did consult the Montecito Fire Protection District, and they said it was perfectly fine. I don't know if you need documentation for that, but that was not an issue. And I think you wanted to see some photographs of the landscaping. The clients are pretty much not touching the landscaping. It's pretty wild. Oh, here, let's see, if you look on the sheet with the photos, it gives you an idea of the property. The area is kind of wild. They kind of like it. They don't really want to do a lot to it. So that's kind of their feeling about the landscaping. They do eventually want to do some landscaping, but their budget kind of limits them at the moment because part of the requirement, or not requirement, part of the design of the addition is that they want to replace the windows with steel windows and make it more consistent and have that classic look, and that's a big expense. So they're kind of trying to save their money to have that accomplished before they proceed in anything with landscaping. So they're kind of leaving that alone at this time. And I think that's it. And I got positive comments on the style of the architecture from my first meeting.
Robert, you haven't seen this, have you?
No, I think I have seen it.
Did you do the site visit with us?
I did not do the site
Okay.
visit though.
Okay, so are we
Can you quickly see the elevation? Just rolled.
Yeah,
Okay, stop.
That's existing.
Oh, that's existing.
Yes, that's the existing, and that's the proposed. Kind of cleaning up some of the little oddball additions that were done in the 70s, I believe. So the addition is a little more consistent, a little more smoother flow with the existing structure.
Okay, so everybody okay? Questions? Excuse me, Brian, are you done, please?
Yes, I am done. Thank you.
Questions, Dave?
No.
Robert?
Well, I don't know, I think I mentioned this last time, the fire department on that latticed understory, have they looked at that? Are they gonna, or the building department?
Well, you know, that's a good question, but no, they made no comment about that.
I
Okay,
think you'll be the building department.
okay.
Yeah, probably.
Chip?
No questions.
And I have no questions. Public comment, is there anybody that would like to address the board on item number 8, 2445 Sycamore Canyon Road, please?
No requests.
Okay. We are on for concept, so there are no motions today. Dave, comments, please?
I can support the project moving forward.
Which means preliminary? Next time?
Yeah, I guess the one question I'm not totally clear on the landscape, but you're not really adding on to this structure. With the exception of the
Do you want to
that
do the
lower.
site? Yeah, it's minimal.
and this site is not visible. I don't remember.
It's
Yeah,
way-
it's a total interior site lot. Yeah.
It's got, it was sort of carved out, and they've got a guest house right on the property line, a driveway, and then a
Yeah.
full garage. And the street's back that way, and this project is that way.
Yeah, okay, yeah, then I can support it moving forward. Yeah.
You're okay? Okay, are you done then, please?
Yes.
Robert, comments?
I think it could come back for prelim and final, really. If,
Okay, Tip?
I agree. Preliminary fund.
I have a rule for myself I will not vote for any project over 110 above the FAR unless there is a FAR study. And what you did was not an FAR study. It was square footage and property. You need to put that into the FAR calculator, which actually causes things to be shows a proportionality from project to project or property to property. And I may vote against the project. I just want to let you know about that. If you can give me evidence from doing the study around the properties and actually calculating the FAR, I will vote for the project, but not if you don't have that. I know it seems like 3% is nothing, but my hard line is 110. So,
Of course, that's fine.
okay.
Yeah.
So that's it. There's no motion. And thank you very much, Brian. And
So are we still at preliminary? Is that what you're saying?
we were at concept and we want to come back at prelim.
Oh, not for one final.
Guys want prelim final? Prelim final.
Well, and if you wanna play it safe, Brian, just get it down to 110 somehow.
Okay, well, we'll see what we can do.
Okay, yeah, okay, thank you for bringing that up, Robert. Okay, so no further business here today? May I have a motion for adjournment, please?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Surprise.